morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me here at the beach. I think it's ironic that the water is so calm today. There's hardly any waves. It's almost like I'm at a lake. But this is the Atlantic Ocean. And the irony of that is that today, I want to talk about anger. I've been out here some mornings and the sea is angry. It's an angry sea. But today, it's extremely calm. If we were to live, we had to be free of anger. The grouch and the brainstorm were not for us. They may be the dubious luxury of normal men, but for alcoholics, these things are poison. So if we were to live, we had to be free of anger. Obviously, they're not talking about a live or die situation in the physical sense. But if I want to live and live happy, joyous, and free, I better be free from anger, because it's a dubious luxury. And dubious meaning it's not to be relied on. It's not something that's sustainable. Now, to me, anger is very similar to drinking. It's a way of coping with the world around me. And in recovery, I've learned new ways of coping with the world around me. You know, I used to drink to cope. It was the answer to all my problems. If it's too hot out, drink. Too cold, drink. I'm happy, drink. I'm sad, drink. Whatever it was, the answer was always drink. So, in recovery, I have learned that I have choices in life. Drinking is not the answer anymore. And in fact, it never really was. Anger is what's known as a secondary emotion. And I've talked about this on this channel before. A secondary emotion means that there's an underlying emotion that I'm using anger to cope with. In doing a 4-step, our fears were revealed to us. Those fears were dealt with by either drinking or usually anger. And anger, you know as well as I do, brings on behavior that we're not always proud of. The grouch and the brainstorm were not for us. I like that, the grouch and the brainstorm. The main thing is that today I have a whole new set of tools, ways of dealing with life. Anger is not a way to deal with life. It feels good, sure. You know, when I'm angry at someone, I am superior to them. I'm looking down on them because they did something that made me angry. And that's a lot more comfortable than facing my fears, right? Fear is not something that's fun to look at. It's much easier to just be angry at them. The problem is that anger turns into resentment. And I'm sure that you've heard that resentment is our number one offender. So anger turns into resentment. Interesting. We want to avoid resentment, so we avoid anger. It's kind of like staying away from the first drink. It's the first drink that gets you drunk. It's the first bit of anger that gives you resentment. So how do we avoid anger? We deal with the primary emotion. The primary emotion. You know, there's a story about a guy that's walking along, he's walking up a hill, and all of a sudden there appears a truck coming right at him, and there's nobody behind the wheel. It's just a runaway truck. Man, his first emotion is, whoa, fear, right? This truck's coming at me. Oh my gosh. So just at the last second, he jumps out of the way and the truck passes by without touching him. So his second emotion is whew, relief. You know what normal people do after that? Normal people, they thank God, or they're grateful that they made it through this terrible experience. I didn't get hit by the truck. Isn't that wonderful? As an alcoholic, my final reaction is, wait a minute. Whose truck was that? Anger. I used to lean on anger. It was a way of dealing with those emotions that I didn't like. Emotions that weren't comfortable. The fear, the gratitude even. Those were emotions I was not used to. I'd been covering them up with alcohol for years. And so when you take away the alcohol, you put the plug in the jug, do you think that makes it easier to cut back on the amount of anger? No, it doesn't. In fact, we lean more heavily on anger as a coping mechanism because we've lost our original coping mechanism, which was alcohol. So now that the alcohol is out of the way, we're leaning heavier on the anger, which means that we're developing more resentments, and they're the number one offender. Man, it's like snowballing, isn't it? So the thing that I have to do is to recognize those primary emotions, experience them, feel them, get through them. Emotions don't kill people, okay? Experience those emotions, feel them, live them, and then move on, okay? It's not the end of the world. I know it felt like it to me when I first started trying this. And don't think that I've got this thing down pat, because I don't. I still have bouts of anger, but it's very, very short-lived. Because that's who I used to be. And it's hard to not consider anger, you know? If somebody pulls out in front of you in traffic, just about causes an accident, what's your reaction? Is it anger or is it gratitude because there was no accident? We say that we practice the principles of the program. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Practicing the principles of the program. It doesn't come naturally for us. It's something that we have to practice. We have to continually look at the primary emotions to avoid that anger. I can't afford to be angry. It's a dubious luxury. It's one that I cannot afford. So if anger is the dubious luxury of normal men, it says that it's poison for alcoholics. Do you want poison? Of course not. None of us want poison. Anger is poison to alcoholics. I think you'll find that if you begin practicing accepting whatever emotion comes, whatever life throws your way, feel the emotion, live without anger. It doesn't happen right away, but I think you'll find that as you practice that, as you continually search within yourself for that original emotion, that primary emotion, I think you'll find that your chances are better for living happy, joyous, and free. I hope you guys are having a great day. It's a beautiful day here in Florida. Stay sober, be grateful, and I'll see you guys on my next video. Bye-bye.